The sound of my mother-in-law's laughter always felt like glass shards against my skin. It wasn't because she was happy, it was because her happiness usually came at someone else's expense. Specifically mine. "Oh, Sarah, you have no idea," Martha said, her voice dripping with fake sympathy as she leaned across the mahogany dining table. She was talking to her sister, loud enough for me to hear from the kitchen where I was scrubbing the grease off the oven. "My son, Mark, is a saint. Truly. He works so hard, and yet he spends every penny keeping her in luxury. If only he'd married someone from a family with actual money." I gripped the scrub brush until my knuckles turned white. The luxury she was talking about? This house, the 5-bedroom suburban dream that Martha lived in, rent-free. The house that everyone, including the neighbors and the church group, believed Mark had bought for his poor, struggling mother. But here is the truth that burned in my throat every single day. Mark didn't buy this house. I did. 3 years ago, when my tech startup was acquired, I didn't buy a Ferrari or a designer wardrobe. I bought security. I bought this house through a private holding company I own, Aegis Properties. I did it because Mark told me his mother was facing eviction. I did it because I loved him, and I wanted his family to be safe. But Mark had begged me, "Elena, please. My mom has a lot of pride. If she knows you bought it, she'll feel like a charity case. Let's just tell her I'm handling the mortgage." I was young, in love, and naive. I agreed. I became the silent ghost in my own investment. "Elena," Martha's sharp voice snapped me back to reality. "Are you deaf?" I asked for more tea. "And try not to burn the biscuits this time. I know you weren't raised with much, but basic hosting isn't that hard to learn." I walked out, drying my hands on a cheap apron. Mark was sitting at the head of the table, staring at his phone. He didn't look up. He never did. In this house, he was the king, and I was the lucky girl who managed to snag him. "I'll get the tea, Martha," I said quietly, "and get some of those expensive macaroons from the pantry," Martha added, smirking at her sister. "The ones Mark bought yesterday. They're far too high-end for your palate, Elena, but I suppose you can have one if there are leftovers." My heart hammered in my chest. Mark bought them? With what money? Mark's salary barely covered his own car payment and his weekend golf trips. I was the one who filled the pantry. I was the one who paid the property taxes, the heating bills, and even the gardener. That evening, after the guests left, I found a receipt in the trash. It was for a diamond tennis bracelet. $4,000. I waited for Mark in our bedroom. When he walked in, smelling of expensive cologne, another gift from his money, I held up the receipt. "What is this, Mark?" He didn't even flinch. "It's a gift for Mom's 60th birthday next week. She's had a hard life, Elena. She deserves something nice." "With what money?" I whispered. "We agreed we were saving for our own future." "I pay for this entire house, Mark. Your mother treats me like a maid in a home I paid for. And now you're spending $4,000 on jewelry while I'm still wearing the same shoes from 3 years ago?" Mark turned on me, his face reddening. "Here we go again. Always about the money. You have millions in the bank from your sale, and you're crying over a bracelet for my mother? You're selfish, Elena. This is why Mom says you have no class. You don't understand family values." "Family values?" I laughed, a cold, bitter sound. "Is it a family value to let your mother insult your wife every single day? Is it a value to lie about who provides for this family? You're lucky I even stay here," Mark hissed, grabbing his pillow. "Mom is right. You're just a gold digger who got lucky with a software fluke. You'd be nothing without the status my family name gives you." He slammed the door, leaving me in the dark. That was the moment. The sweet girl who wanted everyone to be happy died in that dark bedroom. I realized that my silence wasn't kindness. It was a cage. They weren't just using my money. They were using my soul to fuel their ego. I sat down at my laptop. I logged into the Aegis Properties portal. For 3 years, I had been a guest. It was time to become the landlord. The next morning, I didn't make breakfast. I didn't clean the kitchen. I dressed in my best power suit, the one I hadn't worn since the day I sold my company. Martha was in the living room, criticizing the way the curtains were hung. "Elena, these are dusty. Do something about it before the bridge club arrives." "And why aren't you in the kitchen?" I walked over to the mantelpiece and picked up a framed photo of Mark and Martha. I looked at it for a second, then dropped it. The glass shattered on the hardwood floor. Oops, I said, my voice calm and devoid of emotion. Martha gasped, standing up. Are you insane? That's an expensive frame. Mark worked hours to afford that. Mark didn't work for anything in this house, Martha, I said, stepping over the broken glass. And neither did you. How dare you? This is my son's house. You are a guest here by his grace. I smiled. It was the first real smile I'd had in years. Is that what he told you? Well, I have a surprise for your 60th birthday, Martha. But why wait for the party? Let's start the celebration now. I pulled a legal envelope from my bag and laid it on the coffee table. What is this? She sneered, picking it up. It's a 30-day notice to vacate, I replied, and a formal invoice for 3 years of back rent, utilities, and emotional labor fees. Since you think I'm a gold digger, I decided it was time I actually started collecting some gold. Martha's face went from pale to purple. This is a joke. Mark! Get in here and deal with this girl. Mark came running down the stairs, still in his bathrobe. What's going on? Martha threw the paper at him. She's lost her mind. She's trying to kick me out of your house. Mark looked at the paper, then at me, his eyes wide with terror. He knew the paper wasn't from me. It was from Aegis Properties. Elena, he stammered, his voice shaking. We can talk about this. Put the papers away. Mom, she's just stressed. No, Mark, I said, leaning in close so he could smell the confidence he thought he'd broken. The talk is over. The lease is up. And guess what? I'm selling the house to a developer who wants to turn this into a parking lot. I turned to Martha, who was shaking with rage. You have 30 days to find a place that matches your class, Martha. But I should warn you. I checked your credit score. You might want to start looking at shelters. But I wasn't done. This was just the beginning of the end for them. I had a plan for the birthday party that would make this look like a walk in the park. Martha's face turned a ghostly shade of white as she looked from the legal notice to her son's trembling hands. Mark didn't say a word. He couldn't. The tower of lies he had built, brick by brick, year after year, was finally collapsing under the weight of a single piece of paper. Mark? Martha's voice was a thin whisper, stripped of its usual venom. Tell her. Tell this girl that she can't do this. This is your house. You told me you bought it with your promotion bonus. You told me you were the man of this family. Mark looked like a trapped animal. He looked at me, pleading with his eyes, silent tears starting to track down his face. He wanted me to save him again. He wanted me to swallow my pride, hide the truth, and let him keep his hero mask on. I just folded my arms and waited. Mom, Mark stammered, his voice cracking. There was no promotion bonus. The silence that followed was deafening. Even the clock on the wall seemed to stop ticking. Martha sat down heavily on the velvet sofa, the sofa I had picked out and paid for. For the first time in 3 years, she looked her age. I'm going to my hotel now, I said, my voice as cold as ice. I've already packed my essential bags. The rest of my things will be picked up by movers tomorrow. Mark, you have 24 hours to explain to your mother why she needs to start packing. Or don't. It doesn't change the fact that the locks are being changed next month. I walked out of that house without looking back. For the first time in years, my lungs felt like they could actually hold oxygen. The next few days were a whirlwind. Mark called me 147 times. He sent hundreds of texts. Elena, please, I'll do anything. Mom is having a heart palpitation. You're killing her. I'll sign a post-nup. Just don't take the house. I ignored every single one. Instead, I spent my time with my lawyer and a private investigator. See, I knew Mark. I knew that if he was bold enough to lie about a whole house, he was lying about other things too. And boy, was I right. The $4,000 diamond bracelet? He hadn't bought it with his savings. He had taken out a secret credit card in my name, using my social security number he'd found in our tax files. He was literally stealing from my future to buy his mother's love. But the sweet revenge wasn't just about the money. It was about the reputation Martha cherished so much. Her 60th birthday party was still scheduled for Saturday. She had invited everyone, the elite of the neighborhood, her sisters, the church choir, and even Mark's boss. She wanted to show off her successful son and his obedient wife. I decided I would give her the show of a lifetime. Saturday arrived. I arrived at the venue, a high-end country club, half an hour late. I wasn't wearing the modest beige dress Martha had picked out for me months ago. I was wearing a blood-red silk gown that screamed, "Power!" When I walked in, the room went quiet. Martha was standing at the center, wearing the diamond bracelet and a fake smile. Mark was beside her, looking haggard and pale, like a man walking toward a guillotine. "Elena," Martha hissed, rushing over to me. "Where have you been? And what are you wearing? You look like, well, it's very loud. Come, sit at the back table. We're about to start the speeches." "Oh no, Martha," I smiled, patting her hand. "I'm not sitting at the back. I have a gift for you. A digital tribute." Mark grabbed my arm, his grip tight. "Elena, don't, please. Let's just get through tonight. We can talk tomorrow." I leaned into his ear. "Every time you let her insult my parents, Mark, every time you called me a gold digger to cover your own failures, you were writing the script for tonight. Enjoy the movie." I walked up to the DJ booth. I had already tipped him $500 to let me take over the projector screen. "Attention, everyone," I shouted into the microphone. The room fell silent. As you all know, today we celebrate Martha's 60th year. She's a woman who values class, family, and truth above all else. So as her daughter-in-law, I wanted to share a little video showing the real foundations of this family. I pressed play. The screen didn't show childhood photos. It showed a scanned copy of the property deed for the house, with Aegis Properties, owner Elena Vance, highlighted in bright yellow. The room gasped. Martha's sister squinted at the screen. "Wait, Mark didn't buy the house?" Then, the slide changed. It showed the credit card statement for the diamond bracelet Martha was currently wearing, showing Mark's name as the user, but my bank account as the source of payment. Then came the final act. I played an audio recording from my security camera in the kitchen from a week ago. Martha's voice boomed through the speakers. "Mark, you need to keep that girl in her place. She's lucky a family like ours even let her through the door. Just keep using her money until we don't need her anymore." Mark's voice followed. "I know, Mom. She's a boring ATM, but she's my ATM." The room was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Mark's boss, a man who valued integrity above all else, stood up and walked out without saying a word. Martha's friends began whispering behind their hands, their eyes darting between Martha and the screen. Martha looked like she wanted the floor to swallow her. She looked at the diamond bracelet on her wrist, as if it were a poisonous snake. "I've spent 3 years being your ATM, Mark," I said into the mic, my voice steady and clear. "But the bank is closed. The house is sold, and the police are waiting outside to talk to you about the identity theft regarding that credit card." The chaos that followed was beautiful in its justice. Mark tried to run, but the private investigator I hired had already alerted the authorities about the fraudulent charges. He wasn't arrested that night, but the legal battle that followed ruined his credit and his career. He lost his job within the week. His boss didn't want a thief and a liar handling company accounts. Martha, the woman who cared so much about her status, had to move into a tiny, one-bedroom apartment in a part of town she used to scoff at. None of her high society friends called her back. She was no longer the mother of a wealthy son. She was just an old woman who had been caught being cruel to the person who fed her. I sold the house for a massive profit. I didn't turn it into a parking lot. That was just a scare tactic. But I sold it to a lovely young couple who actually appreciated each other. As for me, I took a trip. I went to the Maldives, bought those shoes I'd wanted for 3 years, and finally deleted Mark's number. Never mistake silence for weakness. And never bite the hand that feeds you. Because when a kind person finally gets tired of being used, they don't just leave. They take the whole table with them.